Hello. As people are starting to file in, we'll go ahead and get started right around 7, hopefully. And then I'll also put up the poll for the entry poll, and that way people can get started on it before we get started. I'm also going to make it so that attendees can chat. So everyone should be able to use the chat function here. If you have any questions, there are a few ways that you can go about asking them. You can either use the Q&A function. You can open a question, or you can type a question into the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and start the entry poll, and I'll leave it run until we get a few more people in, and then we'll get started. All right, to everyone just joining, there should be a poll popped up on your screen. It's going to ask you 4 different questions. If you'll go ahead and fill out that quick entry poll, that would be great, so that we can go ahead and get a little bit more information. And it kind of also helps me tailor the presentation just a bit. If we have most people who are interested in USACO, then I can talk a little bit more about that, and maybe less about others, but we do touch on all of the various competitions in this presentation. So, and I did already say it once, but you can ask questions in 2 different ways. You can either choose to ask it in the chat function here, or you can use the Q&A button. That one is where you can go ahead and open a question, and I will go ahead and either answer it verbally within the meeting, or I will answer it. Okay, yep, we are going to go over an intro. So we'll talk a little bit about all the competitions, and then we'll kind of focus in on each of them and a few specifics that could be helpful for students and also helpful for parents. So we'll definitely get into that, and I will type an answer just so that everyone can see it typed out as well. So thank you, whoever asked for a brief overview. You may also hear some rain in the background. It is raining here. All right, so it is 7:02. We have a good amount of participants, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I do still have 3 people that I need to answer the poll, but I'll get started anyway. So let me go ahead and make these a little bit smaller. Okay, so first we'll go over our brief agenda. First of all, thank you everyone for coming to our parent education seminar. We are going to go over just a brief overview of contests and a little bit of a comparison. And then we'll introduce ACSL, which schedule looks like, so on, BCC and USACO. We'll talk briefly about the AIO, or the Australian Informatics Olympiad, but that one is over, so we can't participate again this year, but next year we can most definitely host that again. Awesome, and I do see everyone finishing the entry poll. I will say this one more time because I think we're getting to good amount of participants, but you can ask questions in the Q&A function, or you can ask them over here in the webinar chat. So feel free to ask questions. If I don't see your question, you can feel free to bug me, or I will let you know if I've seen it, but I'm currently just working to get to it. All right. Cool. And at the end, we will have, sorry, I didn't say this before, we will have a Q&A section. So if I don't get to all the questions during the slides, we'll also have a space to talk about that at the very end. So first I want to go over, this is our older progression chart. We are working on making a newer progression chart that will hopefully be a little bit more understandable. But this one so far only shows USACO as a course progression, and usually that happens at around Core 5B. USACO is one of the hardest of the competitions that we support, and it does have technically college level material. So it is generally geared toward the we'll be working on a new progression. So competitions for all ages, we kind of break that down into two different competitions. BCC, I believe, is the same week this. Let's see. Fouls. Okay. Also, if my voice sounds scratchy, just let me know. And I will go ahead and fix it. So ACSL happens 4 times a year. So some of these competitions are an individual competition that you take one time, and some of them are a cumulative of many competitions. And ACSL is one of those. So it happens 4 times a year. So it starts around October, and there are 4 separate competition windows that happen from October to May. And this competition is scored cumulatively. So the scores on each of the individual tests add up to give you your cumulative score, which will tell you if you can go to ACSL finals or if just kind of where you rank. The format is a 30-minute short answer and then 72-hour programming. This is not to say that you will spend 72 hours programming. That is telling you the time window available once you start the programming portion to once you have to be finished. There are 4 divisions. So there's elementary, junior, intermediate, and senior. Anyone can join, and you do have to be on a team. So technically you would be registered on a school-based team, which KTBYTE does have a school-based team. So you would technically be registered with us. For BCC, it's a little bit different. They have one competition window. It's November 7th through the 18th for last year, and I believe it's the same this year. I'm not sure if they've released their 2023 dates yet, but I will check on that. It's a 45-minute long, I would call it sort of a test. It's got 12 to 15 multiple choice questions. This is a lot less programming heavy. It's just more computational thought based and less so focused on actual programming. BCC stands for the Beaver Computing Challenge. It is through the Center for Education and Mathematics through Waterloo University in Canada. In BCC, students who are grades 5 through 10 can participate. They do have a small fee, and this one is also something you'd register for through KTBYTE. There are registration links closer to the end once we kind of narrow in on each of the competitions. All right. And then the next 3 competitions are the USACO, which is the USA Computing Olympiad, the Canadian Computing Competition or Challenge, and the Australian Informatics Olympiad. These are more advanced competitions and not necessarily advanced, so advanced as the USACO. The CCC and AIO are what I would say is about a step or 2 lower than the difficulty of the USA Computing Olympiad, especially in recent years. The USA Computing Olympiad has kind of taken a step back into more difficult problems for the bronze level, but we have heard that they are working on making the bronze level problems more accessible because they have gotten so much more difficult in the recent years. The USA Computing Olympiad is another competition that has 4 separate competitions, but these competitions are not cumulative. They are each scored individually. So that means that for the USA Computing Olympiad, you have the opportunity to be promoted 4 times potentially. Obviously, the goal is to take those 4 chances and get up 1 level, but you do have 4 opportunities. Yes, Ning, I can go ahead and email this document out to anybody who signed up for this so that you guys will have access to this as well. Out of 40 to be invited to ACSL finals. I believe that they've kept, sorry, the question for Feng was, so this is a bit irrelevant, but what will the minimum amount of points needed to score out of 40 be to be invited to the ACSL final? We think it was 24 last year. I do not believe that it has changed for this year. I can do a little bit more research to double check. And then I can send that out in the email as well. Or if I have a second and after we're kind of done, I will go ahead and look it up really quickly. And then for USACO, there are also, oops. Ooh, sorry. There are also 4 divisions. These divisions are going to be looked at a lot differently than any other competition. When we're talking about the American Computer Science League or ACSL, those divisions the individual chooses based on the amount of understanding they have in a certain area or based on age. With USACO, you are promoted into a division. So everyone who takes the USA Computing Olympiad starts off at the bronze level. And if they score high enough, they are promoted to the silver level, and then so on all the way up until platinum. Anyone can technically join the USA Computing Olympiad because it is free. You make an account on their website and you participate individually. You are not required to be tethered or tied to any school, and nobody else signs up for an account except you. We recommend high school students, specifically high school students who have had enough experience, because it is an incredibly difficult algorithmic-based challenge. And we've found that people who study specifically for the USA Computing Olympiad generally tend to do better than those who do not study specifically for it, because it is application based. The CCC, which is the Canadian Computing Challenge, usually happens in February. You have 3 hours to complete 5 questions. They have 2 divisions. This is similar to the ACSL, where you choose the division or your division is selected based on your age. Anyone can participate. This is an in-person, or it has been. We are not allowed to offer this online. So far, we've only been allowed to offer this in our Lexington location, because it does have to be an in-person competition because of the way that they proctor. There is a small fee. We recommend students generally in high school or with a high school level of understanding. So that can be anyone from around like the core 5A, and even some core 4B, 5A sort of level students have done well. The Australian Informatics Olympiad, we participated in for the first time this year. We had 40 students, and we had quite a few students at least place, which was really cool because we have never participated in this competition before. And we did have a few hiccups where we had to kind of figure things out with the company itself, but it turned out really well. But it is a 3-hour long test and you have 6 questions. Similar to the USA Computing Olympiad, the questions do get more difficult as you pass each question. So they'll give you prompt, you'll figure out a solution. And as you go through the questions, it does get harder. This has additionally, similar to the CCC, it has 2 levels, but you do select the level based on age. So the intermediate level is up to grade 10, and then senior level is up to grade 12. This is for students generally in high school, and there is a small fee, and you have to participate as a member of a school. So we sign up with the Australian Maths Trust, and then they allow us to have a team. So getting a little bit more into the American Computer Science League, this is the eldest of the computer science competitions in America. It comes in the 4 different divisions, and this is just a little bit more of a breakdown of ages and grades. Elementary, you can see that there is no programming component. So this is more computational math. It's really good for students who are still being introduced to coding, and we're still working on learning the concepts related to computer science. Junior division, ages 12 to 15, junior high, middle school students. This is junior level is the only level with a hard cutoff of only students up to grade 9. Anyone past grade 9 has to join the intermediate or the senior divisions. Intermediate age 13 plus, senior age 14 plus. Each division does get more difficult. Obviously, elementary does not have the programming portion, so it's a 30-minute long test instead of the 30-minute plus 72 hours. And each of these is just giving you that. And then it does give you the corresponding KTBYTE levels, so that if you are in our classes and you're thinking about potentially signing up for the American Computer Science League, you are able to. Then this just shows you a little bit more about the divisions. And then sorry, that threw me off for a second. This is a brief walkthrough for the ACSL progression. It's talking a bit more about sort of the content of each. Obviously, we know elementary, it's more of a focus on a topic at a time. Programming gets introduced in junior level, and it does require good fundamental, and it has new short answer topics that weren't previously covered on the elementary division. For intermediate, you do have even more new short answer topics, and then the programming is usually easier for this group, and it gets harder, obviously, for the senior. So intermediate's a good fit for, like it said on the previous screen, those students in CSO 1A and O and B, or Core 5A, Core 5. The format, we talked a bit about it. There's an entire weekend. You can use a weekend's worth of time to complete the general programming portion. And then for the short answer problems, you have 30 minutes. It does say a weekend. When you get the email from HackerRank, you are allowed to start it at any point, but remember there is a timer. The All-Star contest is cumulative scoring, and I will go ahead and look up the score needed to get into All-Stars or finals. Yep, sorry. I was updating this, and these are actually our old class our old class name. So I'll just fix these. This is for 2A, for 3A. I'll fix these right now so that you guys can see. That should make more sense. 5A and B, and then this is course 6. I hope that helps. Sorry about that. I think I get so used to seeing both of them that I forget when they are not the correct version. Let me just center these a little bit. Okay, I hope that this answers your question. So when we're looking at the levels, the core 2A through core 3A is where you'll look at for elementary, core 3A through core 4A, B. You're going to look at junior, core 5, A and B are intermediate, and then core 6 is where you're going to be in senior unless you have previous experience. I hope that that answers that. And then moving on. I'm gonna put this down. So these are the ACSL dates. Like I said, in each competition, you're going to get emailed an email from HackerRank, which it says right here. And once they send out the first email, you have any time between November 1st and Sunday, January 14th to begin and complete the test. So whenever you start it, remember that that's when your personal timer starts, but it needs to be completed within the time window that they allow you. So anybody who is on the KTBYTE team can sign up for our ACSL prep courses. They vary in price dependent on the levels. And then contests are done individually at home. You do not have to meet with any other group members to complete the contest. If you don't have time for ACSL prep class, or you are happy to self-study and maybe that's where you're most comfortable, you can also just get our prep materials. If you are on our team, you're allowed to sign up, and then you can view all of the previous contest prep materials that ACSL shares with us. And then this is the ACSL team registration link. So I'll just copy it instead of opening the link. And I'll post it in here if anybody would like to go. Let me go back to our slideshow. And we're going to move on to the Beaver Computing Challenge. So in the Beaver Computing Challenge, it is the same institution as the Canadian Computing competition. So the CCC is related to the BCC because of the fact that they are both run by the Canadian Education and Maths Commonwealth. It's the Waterloo University programs. It is similar to the KTBYTE Challenge quiz, Bebras and other challenges designed for our younger students. We did reach out to the BCC and ask if it was okay if we structured a lot of our challenge quizzes because we liked how they structured theirs. So we reached out to them, and so it is very similar. And so it's a nice competition to get into if you enjoy the KTBYTE Challenge quiz week. If you are a member of our student body, this is a fun one for younger students, and it's all about logic, and there's no coding or programming knowledge, but it is based on computer science principles. And like I said, it trains students on how to think computationally. They do have some certificates of distinction, but the focus for this is more on learning and finding some interesting challenges over competing to win any sort of prize. So I'm going to go ahead and put this other link. We do have the BCC registration now. So I will put this in the chat as well. And then let's get back to the show. All right. We're moving on to the more advanced level courses, and we're going to start off with the USA Computing Olympiad. So the prerequisite is 4.5B or higher. And some of the classes that you can take are the CS90 and the CS90S. The bronze level is, like I said, where everyone starts out and you are promoted to the other divisions after you've received a passing score. The courses CS90 and CS90S, we originally just had the CS90, which is USACO bronze. It teaches you the structure of the test, a lot of helpful hints. It goes over certain algorithms that are used a lot. And then the CS90S is a course that we created because we learned that people needed just a little bit more time with the material to really master it. So CS90S is an accompanying course to the CS90 course, and it allows students more time and more examples to work through because of how much the difficulty can vary within bronze, silver, and gold. And then once you're promoted into the silver division, you can start taking the CS90, CS91S, or USACO silver classes with us. They go over specific algorithms used on the silver challenges. And a lot of times after, even with speaking with our USACO instructors, the greatest thing that your student can do is just keep practicing. The more problems that you can try to solve, the more well-rounded you'll be as a coder, especially within this environment. We do have a USACO gold class. So if you're promoted to gold, we do have that course. It focuses on harder algorithms and advanced data structures. For USACO Platinum, these are the most advanced algorithms. They do a lot, and it's very difficult. If you are able to get into Platinum, you're at the point where you're eligible for the International Olympiad of Informatics, which is the IOI level at the bottom there. We don't offer any courses currently. We have had a few students get to Platinum. The IOI is where students from all around the world can go if they have passed their specific country's Olympiad. So technically the Australian Informatics Olympiad feeds into the IOI, and the US has done well each year at the IOI. So we're going to talk through the USACO progression similar to we did with the others. Within USACO for bronze, some of them seem like common sense algorithms, but they each require more and more tricks. You have to have logical thinking. You have to have the ability to think abstractly as well. It's sort of envisioning the code or envisioning what you need to do and having the ability to write that code with whatever outline you've created. Within silver, there are a lot of very specific algorithms you need to know. You have to get more specialized, and they get more creative with their application. And at this point, it's more difficult than a Microsoft interview question. We did have one of our instructors worked for Microsoft, and he made this PowerPoint. So it is more difficult than a Microsoft interview question, which is cool to think that your high school student will be doing things at that level. In gold, obviously things are getting more advanced, more difficult, and you have to have a higher degree of flexibility in applying various computational concepts, algorithms, code, all of that. You have to be a lot more flexible. Platinum, it requires very high level of tutoring, practice, and most group classes really aren't suitable for Platinum because of its level of difficulty and focus. The format of USACO takes they give you 4 hours to complete 3 programming tasks. They go from high to extremely high difficulties, and they require obviously specific training. Each contest is one weekend and it's independently scored. So how we saw ACSL, where they give you a time frame, it is similar with USACO, but they tell you exactly which weekend to do it. You can choose to do it on one day instead of another, because once you start your test, you are given 4 hours on the clock, but you have a Saturday and a Sunday to choose which day you'd like to take the test. They use the online judge challenges, and it's completely independent from KTBYTE. So though we offer study classes, this is something that you'd have to do, or that you will do on your own. And then if you are in KTBYTE classes for it, then you will be able to come to class and then talk through how things went, what went well, what went poorly, after the entire contest has been judged for everyone. The format has changed over time. And like I said earlier, the difficulty does vary between year to year. We've known that in the past, I think 3 years, the contest has gotten a lot more difficult at the bronze level, but you never know what the next years will come. So the 2023-2024 schedule has not been announced yet. Usually they push it right till November. So as soon as that is announced and available, we will have it on our website. Generally though, December 16th through the 19th is generally the likelihood for the first contest, but we're not really sure because they haven't released their schedule yet. So we have had a few changes in our competition classes. Our first big notable change is that we added a comp prep course. It's just a general competition preparation course. And the goal in this course is to just target skills for CS competitions. We have a lot of very fundamental classes, which is what we call our core courses. We have a few electives, like the competition track of electives and various others. But this course was created specifically to talk about the types of skills you'll need when you're dealing with competitions. We did do the BCC contest. We covered the CCC contest and AIO examples. Some of those are being covered in CS90. And we did participate in the AIO this year. We have made some adjustments to the CS90S curriculum to match the increasing USACO difficulty. And then CS90S and CS91S, those second level classes are recommended for more challenging follow-up. So if you're feeling pretty good about USACO bronze, but you need a little bit more help, those are really good classes, so that way you're not retaking any material, you get all new material. Some of the questions coming into this are how to choose a contest. You can kind of take 2 different routes. One of them would be to choose a contest based on age. If you know your student's age, you know their general skill level, that's a great starting point to figure out which contest is best for your student. Something else to think about is the goal of the competition in your child's coding journey. So do they like tests? Are they not a fan of tests? Because even though we only went over primarily competitions in this conversation, there's also a ton of other types of competitions like hackathons, pitch competitions. If you're into robotics, there's a ton of large fairs where you can present those. So keep in mind that if your student doesn't love competitions in this way, there are other options, and those options are just as viable and good as these options are. Another question is when to start taking competition. So this one is also student specific, but I hope that this conversation has let everyone know that you can start competitions from a young age. And even though they do not have programming specifically, the important thing that we try to teach is computer science, and that's a much broader field than just programming. It includes computational thinking. Mathematics is intertwined heavily. So I think that starting competitions, as long as your student is excited about it and happy to try, or as long as we've got a plan, can start at any point. Choice of coding language differs between competitions, but we teach Java traditionally, and Java is accepted and well understood to be a good coding language to use on the USA Computing Olympiad. We use it on the AIO with no issues. I will say for the Australian Informatics Olympiad, a part of their website was down. It's called the ORAC website. It's where you go to train for the AIO, and it was down, so it made it harder for students to practice. But with all of the different competitions we've talked about today, you can use Java for any one of them. So we primarily teach Java, and you are able to use it for all of the competitions. How to prepare for competitions. First, you can always prepare by taking a class if we have one. Each of these competitions, if you go to their website, they will generally have free training on their websites. It's not usually video training. It is usually more along the lines of they'll give you some problems and you'll have to work out solutions. There are YouTube channels out there. We have for just learning kind of the basics. You can always use some of the free resources on our website, like the tutorials within the coder, or you can just get study materials for some of them. But a lot of them on their websites have various training materials if it's something that you just want to look into for signing up for it for sure. So let me see. I'm going to share the exit poll because we are right at the end of all of our material. But right now I'm going to go ahead and look up the answer to my second question, which was what score you need to have to be invited to ACSL finals. And if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to ask them either in the chat or in the Q&A section. And I will go ahead and answer those as they come in. If you don't have any questions, feel free to take the exit poll survey and hop off. But thank you everyone for joining today. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay, I was just double checking myself. Yes, it is 24, still 24 points to be invited to ACSL finals. So 2 questions I got. Thank you so much, Feng. I hope you have a good day. So I'm going to start with Sherry. ACSL prep class can be studied at home. The ACSL class is online. So yes, you can either take that at home, or if you did want to do the ACSL prep materials, that can be done at home and asynchronous to the rest of the students. So you just have access to all of the ACSL material, and you can study that on your own. I hope that that answered your question. So basically your two options are, you can either choose to do the study materials, and that is asynchronous. You can study at your own pace, but you can do it at home, or you can attend ACSL prep classes. Those are group classes that happen online. So you can also do that at home. Jeff, student is 12 years old, taking 5A. I have two options for you. The first is that you can go for a high score in junior. So I'm going to scoot back to ACSL right here. So you can see that, well, congrats, your student is doing great. 5A for your level of understanding would probably put your student at ACSL intermediate. What I would probably recommend is trying to take ACSL junior first. Since he's still lower than grade 9, you have a high potential of being able to go to finals. That does come with a paper award. So I would say try for junior first. There's no harm, because you can always go up next year, because you can compete every year if you'd like. So I would almost say try junior, just to get used to the format. And also because if you wait and want to do intermediate now, either way, even if you did intermediate next year, you're still advanced. So I don't think there's any reason to hop into intermediate or senior right away when you could still get a really nice award from junior. ACSL, you don't have to be invited. All you have to do is register. So if you use the ACSL registration link, you are on our team. For invited, I think what you might mean is the finals. So if you score a 24 cumulatively across the 4 competitions, then or above a 24, then you are invited to ACSL finals. So ACSL finals is a little bit different. They have a 5th competition where students will participate all on the same day. And I believe that there are also some speakers who talk that day as well. And I hope that answers your question. If not, shoot me another question. If your student can't attend the ACSL elementary class, your student can absolutely take the test without attending the classes. All you have to do is use the ACSL registration link so that we know that your student is on our team. And then if you wanted to still study some materials, you can still use the ACSL elementary materials as a method for studying to prepare for the ACSL contest. But even if you didn't want to use study materials, you are still more than welcome to register to be on our team. And you can still take the competition without having to take the classes. All right. I know that there might still be doing the poll, might still be some people that are doing the poll. If you are still doing the poll, feel free to finish that up. And you can hop out if you have anyone else if I have anyone else who has questions, you can feel free to let me know and I will be happy to answer your question.